The flickering fluorescent lights of the gas station cast a sickly yellow glow over the scene, illuminating the stark contrast between the two men in uniform and the woman they had cornered. Officer Miller, burly and red-faced, leaned against the counter, his hand resting casually on his holstered weapon. His partner, Officer Davies, a younger man with a perpetually sneering expression, stood closer, invading her personal space. "License and registration, ma'am," Miller drawled, his voice thick with an authority he clearly relished. His eyes, cold and dismissive, swept over her, lingering on her neatly braided hair and the modest but stylish suit she wore. Aisha Hassan, her heart a steady drum against her ribs, met his gaze without flinching. "Officers, I've already told you. I'm just trying to get gas. I haven't done anything wrong." Her voice was calm, controlled, a testament to years of training that taught her to maintain composure under duress. But inside, a familiar weariness gnawed at her. This wasn't her first rodeo. "We received a call," Davies interjected, his tone laced with suspicion. "Suspicious activity. Someone fitting your description." He gestured vaguely, as if the very air around her was suspect. Aisha sighed inwardly. Suspicious activity. The universal code for "we don't like what we see," she knew it well. Her palms, usually dry and steady, felt a faint dampness. She had a flight to catch in 3 hours, a crucial undercover operation awaiting her in Miami, and this roadside harassment was threatening to derail everything. Her mother, still recovering from a recent surgery, was depending on Aisha to make sure her medical bills were paid. Every minute she wasted here was a minute closer to missing her flight, a minute closer to financial ruin. Her mother's frail, smiling face flashed in her mind. Aisha had promised her a better life, a life free from the constant worry of medical debt and the indignity of a system that often forgot its most vulnerable. That promise, more than any badge or oath, was her driving force. Aisha reached slowly into her purse, her movements deliberate, making sure they could see every action. "My identification is here," she said, her voice clear. She pulled out her wallet, careful to only expose her driver's license. Miller snatched it from her hand. His eyes narrowed as he scanned the card. "Aisha Hassan," he read aloud, a hint of surprise in his voice, quickly replaced by a smirk. "Fancy name for someone pumping gas at this hour." "It's my name," Aisha stated, her patience wearing thin. She glanced at the clock on the gas pump, 11:47 p.m. Her flight was at 2:30 a.m. The airport was a 40-minute drive, not accounting for potential traffic. The pressure mounted, a cold, hard knot in her stomach. Davies stepped closer, his shadow falling over her. "You got something to hide, Miss Hassan? Why so jumpy?" "I'm not jumpy," Aisha replied, her voice firm. "I'm a law-abiding citizen being detained without cause. And I have a flight to catch." Miller scoffed. "A flight, huh? Where's a woman like you flying to at this time of night?" His implication was clear. You don't belong here, and you certainly don't belong on a plane. Aisha felt a spark of anger, a familiar heat rising in her chest. For years, she had endured such casual dismissals, such blatant prejudice. It was the reason she had joined the Bureau, the reason she had pushed herself through every grueling training exercise, every demanding case. She wanted to be the one who could stand up, who could make a difference, even if it meant fighting battles like this one, alone in a gas station under a harsh, unforgiving light. Her mind raced, calculating her options. She could reveal her identity now, pull out her FBI credentials, and watch their smug faces crumble. But her training dictated otherwise. Undercover agents did not reveal themselves casually, especially not when heading into an active operation. It was a risk, a breach of protocol, and she prided herself on her professionalism. Yet, the clock was ticking, and her mother's medical bills loomed like a dark cloud. "My travel plans are my business," she said, choosing her words carefully. "I've shown you my license. Is there a specific charge you're holding me on?" Miller ignored her question. He handed her license back, but not before deliberately letting it slip from his fingers, forcing her to bend down to retrieve it. A petty act, but one designed to assert dominance, to remind her of her perceived place. Aisha picked it up, her movements slow and deliberate, refusing to react to his childish provocation. "You know," Davies said, his voice dripping with false concern, A lot of folks around here, they get into trouble trying to make a quick buck. You wouldn't be involved in anything like that, would you? He gestured towards her car, a modest sedan, implying it was too nice for someone like her, or perhaps too beat up for her supposed flight. Aisha's jaw tightened. This was it. The veiled accusation, the fishing expedition. They wanted her to incriminate herself, to give them a reason to escalate. She knew the drill. I am an agent of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, she stated, her voice calm but firm, her eyes unwavering. And I am currently on assignment. My identity is privileged information, but your continued harassment is impeding a federal operation. Miller and Davies exchanged a look, a flicker of uncertainty in their eyes. Federal Bureau of Investigation? Miller scoffed, recovering quickly. Sure, and I'm the President of the United States. Show us your badge, then. My credentials are not for public display, Aisha said, maintaining her composure. And certainly not for the casual amusement of officers who are clearly abusing their authority. Oh, we're abusing our authority now, are we? Davies sneered, puffing out his chest. We're just doing our job, ma'am. Ensuring public safety. Unlike some people who might be impersonating an officer, the threat hung in the air, heavy and unspoken. Impersonating a federal agent was a serious felony. Aisha felt the cold dread creep in. They were pushing her, trying to force her hand. If she showed her badge, it could compromise her operation. If she didn't, they could arrest her, and then her mother's future, her own career, everything would be on the line. The weight of her mother's medical bills pressed down on her, a physical ache in her chest. She couldn't afford a delay, a mistake, a misstep. Her phone, tucked deep in her purse, vibrated. A text from her superior, ETA Miami? Need you on site ASAP. Look, Aisha said, her voice dropping, a hint of desperation seeping into her carefully constructed calm. I really need to go. I have a critical family matter and a professional engagement that cannot be missed. Can we please just resolve this? Miller laughed, a harsh, humorless sound. Family matter? Professional engagement? Lady, you're at a gas station at midnight. You think we haven't heard every excuse in the book? We could take you down to the station, Davies offered, a cruel glint in his eyes. Sort this all out there. Might take a few hours. Maybe miss that flight of yours. Aisha felt a surge of adrenaline. This was no longer about a routine stop. This was personal. They were enjoying this, enjoying her discomfort, her vulnerability. She thought of her years of dedication, the sacrifices, the sheer effort it took to rise to her position, only to be reduced to this, a suspect in the eyes of men who saw only her skin color, her gender, her perceived lower status. She remembered her father's words, whispered to her as a child after another incident of casual racism. They try to make you small, Aisha. Don't let them. Your mind, your heart, your spirit. They are bigger than any prejudice. She clutched the small, tarnished silver pin in her pocket, a gift from her father, a symbol of his unwavering belief in her intellect and strength. It was her anchor, a reminder of who she truly was. I'm going to make one last request, Aisha said, her voice now imbued with a quiet authority that surprised even her. Contact your precinct. Ask them to verify my identity. I am Aisha Hassan, Special Agent, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Miami Field Office. Badge number 4732-inch. Miller's smirk faltered. Davies exchanged another look with his partner, a hint of genuine unease now visible. The specificity, the badge number, it was too precise to be a bluff. But their pride, their ingrained prejudice, wouldn't let them back down easily. You think we're stupid? Miller growled, trying to regain control. Anyone can make up a badge number. Then call it in, Aisha challenged, her gaze firm. Right now? On your radio. If I am lying, you can arrest me. If I am telling the truth, you will be obstructing a federal investigation and facing severe consequences. The silence in the gas station stretched, heavy and taut. The hum of the refrigeration units, the distant drone of highway traffic, seemed amplified. Miller's face, already flushed, deepened to a darker red. He was caught. His gut told him she was telling the truth, but his ego refused to admit it. Fine, Miller muttered, pulling his radio from his belt. He pressed the button, his voice gruff as he spoke into it. Dispatch, this is Unit 2 Alpha. Can you verify an individual for me? Name Aisha Hassan, Special Agent, FBI, Miami Field Office, badge 4732". Aisha watched, her heart thumping a steady rhythm against her ribs. This was it, the moment of truth. She could feel the tension radiating off the officers, their bravado slowly eroding, replaced by a growing apprehension. The static crackled from the radio, then a calm, professional voice responded. "Stand by, 2 Alpha. Checking federal database." The seconds ticked by, each one stretching into an eternity. Aisha glanced at the gas pump. 11:58 p.m. She was cutting it dangerously close. But she had held her ground. She had refused to be intimidated, refused to be made small. Then, the dispatcher's voice came back, clear and crisp. 2 Alpha, confirmation received. Aisha Hassan, badge 4732, is indeed a special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Miami Field Office. Currently on assignment. Advise you to cooperate fully and release immediately. The words hung in the air, a death knell to the officer's authority. Miller's face went pale, his jaw slack. Davies looked as if he'd been struck. All the bluster, all the arrogance, drained from them in an instant, replaced by a palpable fear. "Understood, dispatch," Miller stammered, his voice barely a whisper. He lowered the radio, his hand trembling slightly. He looked at Aisha, his eyes wide with a mixture of shock and dawning horror. "Is there anything else, officers?" Aisha asked, her voice calm, utterly devoid of triumph, but with an undeniable edge of steel. She knew this feeling, the switch in power dynamics, the sudden realization of their mistake. "No, ma'am," Miller mumbled, taking a step back. "Our apologies, Agent Hassan. We didn't know." "No," Aisha corrected him softly. "You didn't care to know. You made assumptions. And those assumptions almost jeopardized a federal operation." She paused, letting her words sink in. "I expect a formal apology and a full report of this incident to my field office by morning. And I expect your superiors to be fully aware of the extent of your misconduct." Davies, who had been speechless, finally found his voice, a pathetic stammer. "Agent Hassan, please, it was a misunderstanding. We can just forget this ever happened." Aisha fixed him with a cold stare. "Forget this ever happened? Do you know how many people don't have the luxury of a badge number to protect them from your misunderstandings? How many lives are damaged, or worse, by your casual prejudice?" Her voice rose slightly, the pent-up frustration of years finally bubbling to the surface. "No, we will not forget this. This stops now." She picked up the nozzle, the mundane act of pumping gas now imbued with a defiant power. The officers stood frozen, watching her, their previous arrogance replaced by a visible unease. Aisha filled her tank, paid at the pump, and retrieved her keys. "Good night, officers," she said, her voice a low, chilling whisper as she passed them. "I suggest you reflect on the oath you took, and perhaps on the true meaning of public service." She got into her car, started the engine, and pulled out of the gas station, leaving the 2 stunned officers in the harsh, unforgiving glow of the fluorescent lights. The gas station attendant, a young man who had witnessed the entire exchange, gave her a small, almost imperceptible nod of solidarity as she drove away. 3 weeks later, Special Agent Aisha Hassan sat in her new, spacious office overlooking the Miami skyline. The sun streamed through the large windows, illuminating the polished mahogany desk and the framed commendations adorning the walls. On her desk, prominently displayed, was the tarnished silver pen, a constant reminder of her roots, her father's wisdom, and the journey that had brought her here. Her mother, now fully recovered, had moved into a beautiful new apartment, her medical bills a distant memory. Aisha had not only resolved her personal crisis, but had also used her newfound influence to make a broader impact. After the incident at the gas station, her detailed report had triggered an internal investigation within the local police department. Officer Miller and Officer Davies were not only terminated but also faced public reprimand and were blacklisted from law enforcement in the state. Their actions, once hidden in the shadows of arbitrary power, were now a cautionary tale. But Aisha didn't stop there. The incident had reignited her passion for systemic change. She worked with her field office to establish a new community outreach program designed to bridge the gap between law enforcement and marginalized communities. The program focused on cultural sensitivity training, implicit bias recognition, and the creation of clear, accessible channels for citizens to report misconduct without fear of retaliation. She personally oversaw the hiring of a diverse team of community liaisons, ensuring that voices like hers, once unheard, would now be amplified. She also championed a new FBI initiative to identify and recruit hidden talent from underserved communities, ensuring that potential agents, regardless of their background or initial circumstances, would have a fair chance to serve. Potential is everywhere, she often said in her speeches, but opportunity is not. It is our duty to create that opportunity. One afternoon, her assistant buzzed her. Agent Hassan, the chief of police, is on line 1. Aisha picked up the phone. Chief, she said, her voice calm and authoritative. Agent Hassan, the chief responded, his tone respectful, almost deferential. I just wanted to personally thank you again for your assistance with our new community policing initiatives. The feedback has been overwhelmingly positive, and I wanted to let you know we've implemented the Hassan protocol for all traffic stops involving identification verification. It's making a real difference. Aisha smiled. The Hassan protocol. A small victory, perhaps, but a significant one. It mandated that officers immediately verify federal credentials through secure channels, and any delay or harassment based on prejudice would result in immediate disciplinary action. It was designed to prevent another Aisha Hassan from being underestimated, from being made to feel invisible. Later that day, she received an email from the local gas station attendant, the young man who had witnessed her confrontation. He had just been accepted into the police academy. His email read, Agent Hassan, your courage that night inspired me. I want to be an officer who protects everyone, not just some. Thank you for showing me what true leadership looks like. Aisha leaned back in her chair, the Miami sun warm on her face. She had started as an underestimated individual, facing a crucible moment. She had revealed her hidden power, triumphed over a direct antagonist, and evolved into a powerful agent of systemic change. Her journey was a testament to the fact that true strength wasn't about the uniform you wore, but the character you possessed. And sometimes, the most profound changes came from the most unexpected places. The system, once flawed and indifferent, was slowly but surely healing, one protocol, one inspired life at a time.